we've just finished listening to the COVID-19 budget, as it will be known, and the provisions that the Chancellor's put in place to help businesses not only get through the COVID-19 challenges, but also to set out its stall for the rest of this Parliament and the rest of the decade, if he is to be believed. So the first major provision is statutory sick pay. It had already been trailed that previously you used to have to, it was be paid from the 4th day of being ill, and now it's going to be paid from day one, which will obviously assist on COVID-19 and the encouragement of people to self-isolate. And obviously that's another point, is they will allow it to be paid when you have periods of self-isolation. So it isn't actually being ill, it's taking yourself out of the way. This would have put the burden wholly on employers to assist employees in this time, but actually the government have stepped in and said that they will reimburse employers for statutory sick pay for 14 days. So this will probably be administered in a similar way to statutory maternity pay is already through the PAYE system. Statutory sick pay, unfortunately, isn't full pay and is broadly around a fifth of average earnings. So he didn't go all of the way in terms of increasing that rate. So it's a help, but it's probably not. He could have gone further. There's an extension to employment allowance. That's the amount of national insurance that employers have to pay. This is going up from £3,000 to £4,000, so there's an allowance which will reduce the amount that they will have to pay. There's less of assistance for self-employed, but there are provisions that benefits will be paid to the self-employed after 1 day rather than 8 days off sick. Entrepreneurs Relief was a much trailed item. It was something that we were very concerned might be abolished. He certainly mentioned it was in consideration, but he has decided to keep it, but in a much reduced form. Previously you were able to claim a lower 10% rate of capital gains tax on the disposal of businesses up to £10 million during your lifetime. That is now reduced down to £1 million. So it's still there, and people will obviously be very pleased if they were relying on that for part of their retirement package. One of the business rates, one of the biggest changes that's in place to encourage people and help the high street as well as COVID-19 is there's a business rates review coming in the autumn, the next statement that the Chancellor will put to the House. But beyond that, he's in advance of that, he's provided 100% relief for retail, leisure and hospitality industry for who have rateable value to 51,000. That will include holiday lets as well. He specifically mentioned that. Could be worth as much as £25,000 to those businesses. For other businesses who already claim small rates relief, there will be other grants up to £3,000 that could be claimed from the local authorities. Good to see R&D tax credits and R&D mentioned again. The rate of relief that's going to be applied to the RDEC, the Research and Development Tax Credit for large companies, to increase from the 12% to 13%. So continuing to focus on the UK as being a thriving place for research and development. In terms of the COVID-19 again, time to pay. That was put in place back in the after the financial crisis, and it's been reintroduced here. It will give businesses a chance, probably a 6-month window of breathing space on paying their taxes, which will be corporation tax, it will be PAYE and it will be VAT. And there's also some assistance there that they're providing support to banks to keep them lending to small businesses. Fuel duty was another thing that was trailed that would potentially have been increased. Fuel duty has been frozen for the best part of 10 years. There was a number of reports that have come out prior to the budget that indicated that the merits of doing so and keeping this stabilised was having serious environmental impact. I feel he probably would have increased fuel duty, but for the COVID-19 outbreak, and he has decided to provide another 12 months of freezing this duty. And lastly, there's another environmental change. They've talked about plastic tax, and this is on producers and what packaging they use, and at least 30% of that packaging must be of recyclable material, otherwise they will incur an additional tax on it now. If you want to know more about these changes and how they might affect you, please get in touch.